Hi, what a great question. So I was looking at, so you remember that trick where you take the title and put it in quotes? I did that. So one of the things you had was this one, and it brought me up to an exhibit that was happening at the Brooklyn Museum. Not necessarily a scholarly article. I don't know if there's anything, but I looked in the library catalog for these things, and I couldn't find anything. So I'm just like, oh no, what do we do? So I fell back on what we talked about in class. So let me give you some ideas. First of all, from the Marriott Library catalog, you can look for the designer, entrepreneur, art director, you can look for their name. When you look in the library catalog, you know that you're much more likely to get a hold of these things if you have to track it down to articles for the annotated bib. You could say, I only want peer reviewed, but then there's only 5. So maybe we could look for, oh, fiddlesticks. Is that the end of our, so you could do peer reviewed, but that might narrow it down too much. But there's a couple in there. Let me move my head. And here's it, but this one's like a review. It's not necessarily a scholarly article. This one might be fashion theory. Yeah, there's a scholarly article. These are tougher to find because the person is relatively new, so there's not a lot written about. So these are some that you could go with, and don't forget you can cite these with the citation generator right there. That's one way to go, but I was just like, how do we find more about this? And I was just like, oh yeah, let's go to Bard. So I went to Bard and I say, what communities or values, remember that we did this in class, what communities or values does Virgil represent? And all of a sudden we get, and if you go back to this, there's a Wikipedia thing. So it's the Louis Vuitton artistic director. I'm like, oh. And this person is a designer. Oh, all of a sudden we can look at some other cues that might be about the environment that they come from without having to display their name in it. So we see that that looks like they're creative director of Louis Vuitton, but you can also see streetwear and youth culture. Let's look at that. So if we go back to the library catalog, and we can even do that search that we did before. I'm going to do streetwear, and I'll put youth culture below in quotes. Youth culture. And then just from this one, I might want to add like fashion, or, oh, I'm going to misspell everything. So the or means I want kind of like this, or design. And let me show you what we get with that. I'm going to move my head. So then there's only 9. Good Lord, that was like way too tight. So let's get rid of youth culture and put it up here, streetwear or youth culture. So if we want more stuff, we add an or. If we want less, we add an and. All of a sudden there's like 2692. That's a lot. That's a lot meatier search result to work with. And then when we go into peer-reviewed journals, then you can narrow down to things that you're interested in. And let me show you how to do that. Oh, look at there! Woo! This writes itself. This is probably like one that you already talked about. How cool is that? Okay. I'm going to go back to my search, though. Oh, no. Yeah, that's the right way to go. I thought I had more than... Yeah, OK, there's 2692. Go to peer-reviewed journals. How you can narrow this down is you don't have to go through all 640 of these. You could go off... You could sort by date newest and go in order that way. Oh, Lord, somebody's giving me a call. I'm going to ignore them. Go by date newest. Or you can go by subject, and you can see, do you want to go into youth culture specifically, Arts and humanities, no. I wanted to go into like fashion and design. Oh, there's fashion. So I can narrow it down that way. And what this means is I'm looking for maybe precedents for this artist or different examples of what's going on. That's cool. There's like stuff from like all over the place. Fashion hacking. I think I know what that is. There was like this like a racist white power concert, and somebody produced T-shirts that when you wash them, they actually had an anti-racism message. I wonder if that's what that is. At any rate, this is how I would approach it. And don't forget that if you wanted to go into one of these, you go to this link to online resource, and that's where you get the full text. This should open up a lot more possibilities for you, especially since it's due tonight. Try and go off of what's already been produced here in the catalog. And then as we move forward, we can try and track down more about this particular artist that would supplement the annotated bib. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that works, but let me know. I'll be here for a little bit still.